When you walk up to a customer service counter with a receipt, a product, and a reasonable request for a refund, and the person behind the counter says, "We cannot do that," almost every shopper does the same thing. They argue, they plead, they ask to speak to a manager, they repeat the same request louder. They walk away frustrated, out of money, and with a product they did not want. Here is what almost nobody knows. The moment a store refuses your refund, you are no longer in a customer service conversation. You are in a consumer rights situation. And consumer rights situations have specific legal frameworks, specific escalation paths, and specific words that move the situation from the counter to a level where the store's refusal becomes a problem for them, not just for you. Most people never reach that level because they do not know it exists. They accept the refusal because the person behind the counter said no, and no felt final. It is not final, not even close. Today, I am going to show you exactly what rights you have when a store refuses a legitimate refund, what legal frameworks apply depending on why they are refusing, the specific escalation path that puts real pressure on the refusal without a single raised voice, and the exact words you say at the counter, words that shift the entire dynamic of the interaction from a customer asking a favor to a consumer asserting a right. Hit subscribe right now because this channel gives you the knowledge that protects you in moments where the other party is counting on you not knowing your options. Share this with one person before this video ends, someone who has walked away from a refusal they were legally entitled to because the word no felt like the end of the conversation. Here is the reality most people are never taught. Refund rights in the United States operate on three separate levels. Each level has more weight than the one before it, and most people never get past the first. The first level is the store's own return policy. This is what the person at the counter is applying when they say they cannot give you a refund. They are citing internal policy. The 30-day window, the no receipt rule, the opened packaging restriction. Store policy is real and it matters, but it is not the end of the analysis. It is the beginning of it. The second level is state consumer protection law. Most states have consumer protection statutes that exist specifically to protect buyers from deceptive or unfair business practices. These laws commonly address situations where a store misrepresented a product, failed to disclose a known defect, sold something that did not perform as advertised, or changed a return policy after purchase in a way that was not disclosed at the time of sale. When a refusal is based on policy that conflicts with what the consumer was told at the time of purchase, state consumer protection law may give you a right to a refund that overrides store policy entirely. The third level is federal consumer protection and credit card chargeback rights. If you paid by credit card, you have a right to dispute the charge with your card issuer under the Fair Credit Billing Act. A chargeback dispute puts the burden on the merchant to prove the transaction was valid. A merchant who refuses a refund for a defective or misrepresented product often cannot meet that burden. The threat of a chargeback, stated calmly and specifically, changes the cost-benefit calculation for the store immediately. Most people never mention any of these three levels at the counter. They argue about the policy on level 1 and walk away when level 1 says no. The other two levels remain completely invisible because nobody told them the conversation was supposed to go further. Here is what the bad way looks like. Customer approaches the counter with a defective product purchased 2 weeks ago. The receipt is in hand. The associate says the return window was 14 days and the purchase was 15 days ago. Customer argues about the 1-day difference. Manager is called. Manager cites the same policy. Customer raises their voice. Manager apologizes but holds the policy. Customer walks away with the defective product, out the money, and the store has paid nothing for selling something that did not work. The customer was one sentence away from a completely different outcome. Here's what the good way looks like. Same counter, same associate, same refusal. Before the customer raises their voice or asks for a manager, they say this calmly and specifically. I understand your return policy. I want to note that this product was defective on arrival, which is a separate issue from a standard return. If this cannot be resolved here today, I will be filing a dispute with my credit card company under the Fair Credit Billing Act and a complaint with your state's Consumer Protection Office. I would prefer to resolve this now. That is the complete first statement. Calm voice, specific legal references, not threats, statements of intent, no raised voice, no argument about the policy. Here is what that statement does that arguing about the policy never does. It tells the associate and the manager they are about to call that this customer knows there are levels above store policy, knows the names of the specific legal frameworks, and is prepared to use them. The cost-benefit calculation for the store shifts immediately. A chargeback dispute costs the merchant the refund amount plus chargeback fees plus administrative time. A consumer protection complaint creates a formal record and potential investigation. Resolving it at the counter costs none of that. You are not threatening, you are informing. And informed customers get different outcomes than arguing customers every single time. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever walked away from a refused refund you believe you were entitled to because no felt like the final answer? Tell me what happened. I want to know how many people have left money on that counter because nobody told them the conversation was supposed to go further. If you are still here, hit the like button because what comes next is the specific escalation path. What to do if the first statement does not resolve it, and how each step applies real pressure without a single confrontational word. Here's the escalation path when the first statement does not produce a resolution. Step 1. Request the manager and document that you attempted resolution at the store level. You say this: I would like to speak with the store manager and understand the process for filing a formal complaint. That documentation matters at every step that follows. Step 2. State your intent specifically in front of the manager. You say this: I want to resolve this today. If we cannot, I will be initiating a chargeback dispute with my credit card company, filing a complaint with the state Consumer Protection Office, and if the amount warrants it, filing in small claims court. 3 specific consequences. Each one carries real administrative and financial costs to the merchant: chargeback fees, regulatory attention, and court appearances they frequently lose. Saying all 3 calmly demonstrates you are not bluffing. Step 3. Follow through. If you paid by credit card, initiate a chargeback dispute under the Fair Credit Billing Act. You have 60 days from the statement date the charge appeared. Defective or misrepresented products are among the strongest grounds available. File a consumer protection complaint with your state attorney general's office. It is free, takes 20 minutes online, and creates a formal record. If the amount warrants it, small claims court is available in every state with minimal filing fees and no attorney required. Let me tell you about Teresa. Teresa is 52 years old, lives in Ohio, and purchased a kitchen appliance that stopped working after 2 uses. She returned to the store 32 days after purchase, 2 days outside the 30-day return window. The associate said they could not process a return. The manager confirmed the policy. Teresa had been ready to argue about the 2 days. Instead, she said this: I understand your return policy. This product was defective. It failed after 2 uses. A defective product is a separate issue from a standard return under Ohio consumer protection law. If this cannot be resolved today, I will be filing a chargeback dispute and a complaint with the Ohio Attorney General's Consumer Protection Section. The manager asked her to wait. He consulted briefly with someone by phone. He returned and processed a full refund. Teresa spent 40 seconds saying 2 sentences. She knew 2 things most people do not: that defect and return policy are separate legal questions, and that she had tools above the store level that the manager knew about and did not want activated. She did not raise her voice once. She simply demonstrated, calmly and specifically, that she knew where the conversation was supposed to go next. Two legal foundations make everything in this video exact. The Fair Credit Billing Act gives credit card holders the right to dispute billing errors and charges for goods that were not delivered as agreed or were misrepresented. A defective product that fails immediately after purchase is among the strongest grounds for a dispute. The card issuer conducts an investigation. The merchant bears the burden of demonstrating the charge was valid. State consumer protection statutes in most states prohibit unfair or deceptive acts or practices in commerce. A product sold with a representation that it would perform a specific function that it then fails to perform is a potential violation of that standard regardless of the store's return policy. The Attorney General's office in most states accepts consumer complaints online at no cost and forwards them to the business for response. Here is the complete recap. No at the customer service counter is not the end of the conversation. It is the end of level 1. 2 more levels exist above it, and most people never reach them because they did not know the escalation path. The moment a refund is refused, you say this: I understand your return policy. This product was defective, which is a separate issue from a standard return. If this cannot be resolved here today, I will be filing a dispute with my credit card company under the Fair Credit Billing Act and a complaint with your state's Consumer Protection Office. I would prefer to resolve this now. Calm voice, specific legal references, no argument, no raised voice. If the first statement does not resolve it, you request the manager, restate your 3 specific next steps, and follow through on whichever apply. Think about one person in your life right now, someone who has walked away from a counter with a defective product and no refund because the store said no and they did not know what came next. Share this video with them today, not later, right now. The sentences you just learned turn no at the counter into the beginning of a conversation that merchants almost always prefer to end with a refund rather than continue. Next week, I am covering what happens when a debt collector calls you, what they are legally allowed to say, what they are absolutely prohibited from saying, and the one letter you send that makes them stop contacting you permanently under federal law. Subscribe so you catch it the day it drops. Hit the like button if this changed how you will handle the next time a store refuses your legitimate refund. Drop a comment telling me whether you knew before today that defective products and standard returns are 2 separate legal questions. Know your rights, use them, stay safe.